today. It's the anniversary of the famous five, for example. I thought of your theme of Mind the Gap. But the famous five didn't get to where they arrived in order to become famous without one heck of a lot of hard work and an enormous number of barriers put in their way, just like you. There's evidence out there that unfair can become fair. I'm talking, of course, about displaced workers, wages that are too low, the marginalizing of people with disabilities, young people who can't get jobs today. None of those problems are unsolvable. It depends very much on how we look at them and how we see change and how indeed we mind the gap. June Callwood always said, if you see an injustice being committed, you aren't an observer, you're a participant. Responding is all about moral courage. June Callwood had it to the max. As I read your annual report from last year, I realized that's exactly what you have. What you do on a day-to-day basis, just as though it was a 9-to-5 job, is perform 100 daily miracles. What you do affects the lives of every person you touch. The dad who simply can't make enough money to support his family, he comes to you for help. So does the mom who's new to this country and can't speak the language and can't find a job. She comes to you. Young people come to you. Otherwise disadvantaged people, they all wind up on your doorstep. And yet you have an astonishing 70% success rate. You turn lives around at a rate that is almost unimaginable. In fact, imagine having the nerve to take on problems that you know very well the rest of society would much prefer to ignore. That's what you do. This is not small potatoes. Your agency decided in 1983 that they would not look the other way, when almost everybody else does look the other way. It's not just a job that you're doing, it's the moral courage you've employed to get it done. You know, moral courage is an interesting thing. It's a concept that is hardly ever talked about, but it's almost always noticed by its absence. It's an action that takes enormous individual daring and delivers immense personal satisfaction. It changes societies. In my opinion, this agency, this help center, is a fine example of how moral courage works on the ground. You tackle, which are the nasty realities of life. Fighting wage disparity, finding jobs for your clients, rebuilding the economy, in fact, and settling Canadians under that broad umbrella called the Unemployment Help Center. I believe the world is ripe for change today. I believe the example you set when you started all those years ago about minding the gap, about looking out for each other, is now spreading its tentacles not only across this country, but indeed around the world. I believe that goodness is being proven as having more value to all of us than the gross national product. I have a new book out. It's called Ascent of Women, Our Turn, Our Way, a remarkable story of worldwide change. This is about minding the gap. Just as the famous five had to go through so many steps before they managed to have women in Canada identified as persons, there's a movement going on around the world today that is changing the status of women. I'm a journalist. I work in zones of conflict, and my beat is to find out what happens to women and girls in these places.